All right, welcome back to another episode of Real Talk. Jeff here. Feels good to be 3-0. Dan, how are you, man?
Good, man. Just heads up to you before we went live or whatever. I forgot to tell you, I got a bit of a tickle in my throat, so if I cough or whatever, I apologize if it gets annoying for you or the listeners. But other than that, not too shabby, man. Big Ten play starts this weekend.
Yeah, it's unique. I'm over here in Baton Rouge, Indiana. So for those of you that follow college football, it's LSU country. Kind of weird here for work. We're working on a zoo over here, but still made time to get the pod in. Michigan has been great. I was able to catch every bit of the game last week, even though I was in the middle of a 12-hour car ride. I streamed the entire thing on my phone and didn't really have an issue. I was able to watch pretty much the whole thing, so that was fun. UConn, though. They handle UConn pretty easily. They win 59-0. And this was really their best outing of the year. Was that surprising to you that it was against UConn and not a Hawaii or Colorado State?
Yeah, a little bit, because I thought, Hawaii was. I thought Colorado State was probably going to be the most overall balanced, and I thought Hawaii was going to be 70-0, honestly, and no exaggeration. So them being up on UConn like that and shutting them out, I didn't see that happening. I know they only went like 1-11 last year, but yeah.
Yeah, Jim Mora, we didn't talk about this prior to the game, but Jim Mora is actually their head coach, veteran NFL coach. He said after the game, he goes, I have never in my life been beaten 59-0. And he said that Michigan felt and looked like a national title contender. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Jim Mora on the sidelines. Jim Mora, he just seems like he's just kind of been lost in the shuffle. Same thing with when Lovie Smith was over at Illinois. Lovie Smith grows a huge gray beard and he's coaching the Fighting Illini. Just seems so random, just like a random stop for him, And so, going into the season, I thought only two teams Michigan would be playing in the non-conference were first-year head coaches, but all three of them are first-year head coaches were right now. I mean, obviously Jim Moore, like you said, has been in the NFL before, but overall the game was expected. Without Donovan Edwards, so Blake Corum was called upon. The defense didn't really stack the stat column like I wanted it to, like I mentioned last week, but 7 quarterbacks attempted to pass, so playing time has not been an issue. Again, all these guys live game reps is good for me, and what was I going to say? What I had down here? Sorry. Ronnie Bell had probably his best game since back from his injury, 7 for 96. AJ Henning got that great punt return. Jake Moody misses a field goal. That was something we don't see very often, but again, that was right before half, and that was damn near on the other side of the country. So
it was from 62 out. Yeah, it was a big one.
But yeah, that's about it.
I just thought that overall balanced effort. Didn't ask anybody to do too much. JJ was 18, so he continues his very efficient passing play. Passed for 200, no touchdowns though. And as you alluded to, they called upon Blake Corum, and he decided to score 5 different times. Last time being Hassan Haskins that did that, and only the third running back in Michigan history to score 5 times in a single game. So obviously, Blake Corum shoots up the charts in the stat category and now leads the country in rushing touchdowns. And as you alluded to, obviously, big plays from Ronnie Bell. I thought Roman Wilson was great when he was called upon. He's definitely, at this point, I don't know if you would agree with this or not, he's definitely the big play receiver.
Yeah.
We thought, both of us, I think it was, actually, you said Cornelius, I said Andrew Anthony would be the big play. We were both wrong. That's 100% Roman at this point, and he's been fantastic in that role. And then AJ Henning has been kind of a do-it-all type player, been used in all different areas, and obviously gets that punt return touchdown. And I think he becomes the 5th player in Michigan history to have both a punt return and a kickoff return touchdown in his career, which is kind of cool for him. He joins Desmond, Charles, and some other. Breston, I think, was one of them. Some big names, obviously. But overall, I think this is exactly what we were looking to be after this non-conference schedule, as everybody has kind of chimed in and called it cupcake, which it is. That's fine. It is what it is. You can only play who you can play. Last year we scheduled Washington and we creamed them too. So it's like, not everybody can beat Washington in their non-conference schedules. That's all I have to say, but
right. And
teach their own.
I think it was like 3-4 years ago they scheduled UCLA for this season, and that game somehow got pushed or canceled, whatever, because of the stars didn't align. So even if we were to play UCLA this year, it still would have been looked down upon because UCLA is in the doghouse anyways. But I mean, again, cream puff, no cream puff. I mean, Michigan had, I think, one of the top 5 strongest schedules last season. So it's like, it is what it is, and some programs go out of the way to get those primetime games. Michigan used to kind of do that here and there, playing at Jerry's World against Bama. But we've obviously seen the formula. Like if you have a moderate to soft non-conference schedule, that only kind of benefits you down the road for the college football playoff. And but the saying goes is like, if you lose, you want to lose early because you can make up for that down the stretch rather than lose late. But it is what it is, man.
Absolutely.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton more to say outside of obviously we'll make our liked, disliked, more of assessments here in a second. But I mean, this is what I wanted out of this non-conference. I wanted us to beat up on some teams, get some playing time for others, and figure out the QB battle, which we did. We definitely figured that out. Unfortunately, we'll talk about this in a minute. Cade McNamara goes down with an injury. It doesn't look to be his ending, but he's going to be out, and he is definitely out of the QB competition at this point. So it is 100% JJ's job. He is in the driver's seat. This is what 90% of Michigan fans wanted. So, and to be fair, once I seen the first 2 games, this is what as well. So at this point, JJ ship. We're 3-0 through non-conference. We start Big Ten play. I'm ready to talk about the dislike more of anything else before we get to
that. No, just real quick though, is Michigan fans are getting their wish with JJ, and let's just hope JJ stays healthy because Cade McNamara gets sacked in this game, gets hurt, and is out indefinitely. We don't know when he's gonna be back. We haven't got really like a timetable, and could be a few weeks, could be the rest of the season. So it is full systems go with McCarthy.
So let's start with liked. I'll start here. For me, very simple. The special teams overall, both the punt block and the punt return touchdown, I thought was huge. It's nice to get those special teams things going into Big Ten play, kind of figured out, impact plays, scoring in ways that you're not just on offense or maybe even defense, but special teams is obviously nice too.
Yeah. What I got down for my liked is defense to give up big plays. The first 2 weeks, even the third and fourth string guys get in there, and Hawaii and Colorado State were able to rip off like 1 or 2 big plays down the stretch. But this past weekend, the whole game, no matter all the bodies they played in, I think they damn near played over 100 guys. Even the bottom of the depth chart didn't allow one single big play. I think the if you want to call it a big play, I think the largest thing, the biggest gain that UConn had was 18 yards. So did a terrific job of showing their defensive prowess and not letting them really sniff the red zone.
This is correct. No blemishes. They were 3-0, and it was by a landslide. So didn't have to struggle to beat these teams. They did exactly what everybody thought they would, and that was obliterate them. And when you're playing these quote-unquote cupcake games, you don't want to see your team struggle with that at any point. And I don't think we ever seen a struggle. A matter of fact, through 3 games, they're outscoring their opponents 103-0 in the first half of games. So took care of business early and often. Disliked, I'll let you start.
Again, it's
being nitpicky.
It might be being nitpicky, but we knew obviously we're trying to replace Hutchinson and Ajabo, and the last 2 weeks we haven't really seen a lot of quarterback pressures and sacks. And you can make the argument, well, they're throwing the ball out of there quick. The teams are, trying to pass the ball before the defense gets to them. But we're going to really find out how good this pass rush is up front against Maryland this weekend because of Tagovailoa and the aerial assault that they can boast. So, yes, defense did a phenomenal job, like I just said, keeping the shutout. And first, second, third, fourth string guys all played well. But I just want to see a little bit more of the pass rush, especially with the guys up front, the 3 or 4 down linemen. It seems like really when they do get pressure, they have to blitz to do it. And we would like to see the front 4 get there, front 3 get there, because when you get down to at the end of the year against Ohio State, like last year, C.J. Stroud could not sit down there for very long because he had the ends coming crashing in on him. So hopefully, I'm overreacting here, and there's nothing to worry
about. For me, the disliked, it was almost strange at how bad it was. The offensive line when Cade McNamara took the field was horrendous. I think he took 3 snaps. He did complete, I believe it was like an 18-yard pass or whatever, but legitimately the other 2 plays, I think he was either sacked or hit, and that's what led to the injury. It was like, really, what is going on here? As soon as Cade takes the field, he's getting obliterated. And then at the start of the second half, they brought JJ back in, and of course, clean pocket again. And now, mind you, JJ can kind of move the pocket a little bit with his feet, but at the same time, it's like, geez, Louise, it was kind of disgusting to watch. I'm like, how is it as soon as Cade takes the field, this is what we're looking at here? Which, by the way, he also took this field to a standing ovation, which was kind of cool as well. Yep. More of, for me, it was 2 things. Balanced ball. So many people played. So many people were able to impact the game, even if it was for 1 play. 8 different quarterbacks played. 7 of them threw passes. I think 5 of them went 1 for 1, which was great. You throw 1 pass, you complete it. That's what we're looking for here. It was nice to see Blake Corum score a bunch of touchdowns. It was nice to see JJ be productive again. The punt, like we talked about, the blocked punt. Even attempting a 62-yarder to know what we have on the year, I thought it just seemed like the total balanced game. But if I could highlight 1 player as a more of, and this is a good thing, it's not that I'm not seeing this. I absolutely love what I'm seeing out of Sanders still, and I hope it continues. I think he has been a bright spot in this defense, and he kind of came in to this offseason as kind of like a wild card through spring ball and fall ball. We just weren't sure what we were getting out of him. And it's unfortunate that we haven't seen him play a ton of offense, but at the same time, he's been an absolute dog on defense.
Yeah, my more of is I like number 3, man. I like AJ Henning a lot, and they moved him into the backfield. I think it was only for like 1 or 2 plays, but that puts it on film, that puts it on tape for other teams to look at, and it's just something else to worry about. And we have, an incredible wide receiver room right now, and this offseason, I'm hoping no one transfers. Excuse me. Wrinkle that Michigan can roll out there, and so obviously we've talked about him, and everyone's talked about him about being Deebo Samuel, but he can take some snaps off of Edwards and Corum, less wear and tear on them, and number 3 can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, coming into the offseason, they actually talked about how AJ Henning would have a Deebo Samuel style role. And we were texting kind of back and forth on Saturday, and I was joking, but I was serious. I was like, Deebo Samuel, Percy Harvin, AJ Henning, same player. I mean, what you see out of AJ Henning, I think, is kind of like a poor man's Percy Harvin, a poor man's Deebo Samuel. I think he can definitely be that guy, and time will tell. Anything more on UConn before we head to Maryland?
No, I'm good, bud.
Do you have – I'm pulling it up here. All right. So Maryland's football schedule to this point. All right, here. So they're 3-0. Okay, they're undefeated heading into the Big House this weekend, which will be – the game will be on Fox, I believe.
I believe so. Joe Klatt.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it is the big noon kickoff here. Sorry, it's I'm trying to pull the schedule up. It's fighting me. So big noon kickoff this weekend. They're 3. Here we go. So Buffalo, they beat 31-10. They were at the Charlotte 49ers. It's kind of a weird place to play at, but they beat them 56-21. They played SMU last weekend. They won 34-27, and now they're at the number 4 Michigan Wolverines. This is the one thing I'm looking for in this game, and you've kind of spoke about this a little bit. I'm just kind of nervous. We haven't seen really anybody attack us through the air. Colorado State got us late in that game against Will Johnson, I think it was, but I'm just nervous to see how these corners are going to be against legitimately offensive competition, as they have scored. I just said it. I think it's 31, 56, and 34. Yeah, 31, 56, and 34. This team can put up points. How can this defense respond? As you alluded to, we haven't seen a ton of pressure. As I'm just talking about, I don't know what we're going to get in our corners. What do you think?
Yeah, so they're obviously going to have their first real test this week. Tagovailoa is boasting a 77 completion percentage right now and 6 passing touchdowns. Maryland has talent across the board at wideout, kind of like Michigan does. They have at least 4 or 5 guys that all contribute. If you go look at the stats these last 3 games, it's consistently like 2 guys each week back and forth that Tago is targeting. But just like Michigan, man, it's one consistent guy and then another guy that just kind of rotates in and out of just getting work. So when they spread you out 4 wide, receivers is a threat, obviously. They have also Jarrett and Roman Hemby and Antoine Littleton are carrying the rock, both 9 yards to carry, so they can even run the ball. I think really the only thing that's holding Maryland back from a Big Ten East contention right now is their defense. So I'm kind of caught between, is this going to be a game where they're going to keep close down the wire, or is Michigan going to, weather the storm in the first half and pull away in the end? I thought maybe 17 points it was a doable number to beat them by in the beginning of the year. That's actually what the spread is right now. I'm not nervous, but I'm very intrigued to see how our corners match up with these guys. And I think Maryland's going to be slinging the rock all over. Again, at least this game's at home, so Michigan players are going to be, in their home environment. Excuse me, which will help a lot, but be in for a treat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make them out to be more than what they are, but I also don't want to understate them. I mean, they're averaging 40 points a game. That's good for 29th in the country. They're only giving up 19 points a game, good for 45th in the country. And as you alluded to, they got several playmakers, a multi-purpose back, a good second string back, and then there's like 3, 4, 5 wideouts that can make plays for them. So I am intrigued. I think this is a game that, like you said, could hang around for a little bit. I do like Michigan to kind of pull away because I just think their offense is going to be too much. But the defense is obviously the big wild card. Last week we debuted a new segment. We're going to do that again. This week it's actually, we're going to use DraftKings numbers. Last week I kind of manufactured my own numbers. This week we're using DraftKings. There's a couple that I manufactured, but mostly through DraftKings. So over under, these numbers were on DraftKings as of 7:30 on Wednesday night. So we got Michigan minus 17. Do you like a Michigan cover?
I predicted at the beginning of the season. Ride with it. I'm slightly confident still, but I think it's doable. I'll say they cover.
Yeah, I think Michigan, they've scored 50 in every game. I don't think they're going to score 50 again, but I think they're going to be close. Give me Michigan 40-20. I think this is high scoring for Michigan. You're going to see JJ for 4 quarters, which I'm excited about. You're going to see a lot of Blake Corum. I think you're going to see a little bit of CJ Stokes too if Donovan Edwards isn't out there. And finally, I think we're going to see a multitude of wide receivers catch the ball. I think we're going to attack them through the air. I'm excited. This could be a massive JJ McCarthy game. Speaking of JJ, over under 259.5 yards passing. So 260 or more or less than 259.
Over.
Going up. Going over.
Absolutely. Playing the whole game, I would expect, or at least damn near close. Obviously, he's only been playing half of football, and he's been hitting 230, just over 200. So, yeah, I'll take the over.
Yeah, the one thing about JJ, you can say this for almost every game he's ever played in, he's good for at least one big play a game, however that happens. And if that big play is 60 yards, there's 60 of it right there. And give me 200 over the course of the game. I like the over as well. I like a 300-yard passing day out of him. And, yeah. What about touchdowns? JJ, 1.5.
I say over. I say over.
I say over too. Give me 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think that's a good day for him, and there'll be some rushing as well. But speaking of rushing, Blake Corum, 87.5 yards rushing.
See, I think that's doable as well. I mean, we're in the heart. We're going to be starting our Big Ten here. They're going to rely on their experience, and I think CJ Stokes will get burned absolutely. Donovan Edwards will get burned if he's healthy, but I think it's going to be Blake Corum, and he got the 5 tutties this past weekend. I think he gets the yards this week.
Yeah, I just said we're going to score 40. We need the yards to do it. If I have JJ at 300 yards, I'm going to give Blake 90 to 100. Give me the over on that as well. So we're going overs all across the board here. Blake, 1.5 touchdowns, total touchdowns, however that happens, rushing or receiving. He had 5 last week.
Yeah, he'll score. Absolutely, he'll score.
Yeah, give me the over as well. This is something I know you've been harping on. Sacks, 2.5, over under. Defensive pressure here.
And until I see it, I'm going to say under.
We're going to have a lot more opportunities as this is pretty much a passing attack offense. We're going to need them. 3. I think I like that number. Give me the over there. Staying with the overs. Turnovers. Defensive turnovers. Not talking about offensive turnovers. Talking about defensive takeaways here. 1.5.
Say under, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tago at least throws 1 pick. At least one pick. Either Rod Moore or DJ Turner comes up with that one. And for the love of God, will RJ Moten pick one off? He's been since last year. He just every time he's like right there at the right place, right time, and just bounces off his chest. So hopefully he'll get one soon enough. But I'll take under, but I think they at least get 1 pick.
His name is escaping me. I want to say he's number 8, not 18 on defense. He's a safety, young talent, highly touted in the secondary. His name's escaping me. He's been all around the ball too and hasn't picked one off, and I forget it. His name's escaping me. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go under 2 because this team has struggled to take the ball away. That's one thing they haven't been good at in the last couple of years is taking the ball away. So give me the under, but that doesn't mean they can't get at least 1. So. Maryland. We both predicted Michigan to win over 17. Anything else?
Nobody.
We do have some mailbag I want to get to before we get into anything else as far as other college football stuff. Let me pull this up here. Here we go. All right. So question number 1 comes in from Anthony Du Bois. Okay. He's a big Michigan fan. I know that. He says, since Maryland will be by far the best offense Michigan has faced all year, What is your comfortable point total to give up to them? Meaning, when do we start worrying about if the defense it gets to this point? So we were just talking about this. We expect some issues here with this kind of offense. How many's too many?
I think 35 is too many. I would be and I would 28, but I would be comfortable with 24. So my ceiling is 35, 28. Okay.
Are you, so if they score 35, are you worried, or if they score 35, you're gonna be like, okay, it was just Maryland?
No, 35. I would sweat. 24.
Yeah.
I'll definitely sleep at night.
Yeah, I think ultimately if they get to that 27 point range, I'm gonna need to see Michigan scoring more, because if it's 27-30, I have a problem with the defense. If it's 27 in garbage time where we're 30 or more, boy, that's disappointing. That would be disappointing. And I'm not going to be like every other Michigan fan and start saying, "Oh, there it goes. We can't beat Ohio State," because you have one-off game. But at the same time, I don't want to see Maryland score 30. That would be
right. And maybe I'm giving Maryland too much credit, whatever. But I'm expecting their offense to be pretty potent. But that's just me.
He's also asking, what is the probability that Alabama doesn't even make the SEC championship game? For me, that's close to zero. Georgia plays on the other side. Am I correct in saying that? Yeah. Georgia plays on the other side. So unless LSU is better than them, which as of this moment, I don't believe that's the case, or Auburn, and I just seen them get absolutely destroyed by Penn State, I think Alabama walks to the SEC title game.
Yeah, Arkansas is ranked 10th right now, and I think they play Bama in like 2 weeks. They are in the same division. I think unless Arkansas, Bama, I think Alabama is going to be there in the end.
Jamie Lado, friend of both of ours, big Michigan fan. He's got a nice little question here. Get ready. So it says, word is next season the ACC is getting rid of divisions and going to just have the two teams in their conference vying for the championship, rather than seeing who's from each division having them play each other. He said, would you like to see the Big Ten also do away with divisions? You could potentially see a Michigan versus Ohio State 3 straight games being in the game, the Big Ten championship, and then maybe a playoff game as well. What do you think?
I don't like it at all. It's not that I'm afraid of Ohio State, but we talked about in the season preview, I'm a traditionalist. I don't like the conference realignment the way it's going. I kind of like how everything had its own pageantry, its own rivalries, games, all that kind of stuff. And to see the Pac-12 event, probably going to be no more. I'm not on that side of the fence. And I mean, we almost had this issue happen when the Big Ten was the divisions were first started, when it was legends and leaders, and it was all that corny crap going on. But no, I wish, or I hope that we keep our divisions. The only thing that I'm going to be really interested in to see is if they change the name Big Ten, because once the Cali teams come in here, it's not going to make a lick of sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see them do away with divisions altogether, but at the same token, there could be some sort of realignment in the Big Ten that would probably make more logical sense than what we have now, especially because the Big Ten East has been so absolutely dominant. A matter of fact, the Big Ten West has never won the Big Ten title game. And a lot of you are going to say, oh, Wisconsin. Yeah, Wisconsin won it when it was the leaders and legends. They did not win it when it was the West. So, yes, the Wisconsin has won the Big Ten, but literally not in years. So, as of right now, it's been a mixture of Michigan, Ohio State, and Michigan State taking turns winning. And I think Penn State potentially had 1, 2 in there. But between the 4 of them, they've won all the Big Ten titles. So, potentially mixing that up, but I wouldn't want to see them just do away with it altogether. I don't know that that's probably the best fit. But ultimately, I could see them doing something like this only because when you bring in a USC and UCLA, it's almost a disadvantage to a team like anybody in the West, really, that has to travel to UCLA or USC more than the East does. I could see that kind of being an issue. I always wonder if that's something they want to try to avoid, or if that's something they're just going to lean into and say, yeah, it's part of it. You know, you're joining the Big Ten, and unfortunately, this is what the Big Ten is now, and that's a wide open conference that spreads from West Coast to East Coast, including Rutgers. So, what do you have for outside of Michigan into the college world?
Well, what did you think about Husker fans chanting "We want Urban" at College game day?
Yeah, I think I tweeted this. Yeah, you don't. Here's the thing. You've said this multiple times. Everybody knows this. LeBron gets this treatment too, and it's for good reason. When LeBron James comes to your team, okay, I've heard this analogy, and I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
You're going to win, and then he's going to leave, and he's going to leave your program in shambles. So, for instance, I've heard this analogy. I think it's money. When you were a kid, there was always that one kid that was super cool, and you always want him to come over because you have a ton of fun. So he comes over, you guys have a blast, you guys destroy the house, you have an absolute rager. But then he takes off, and mom's like, "You better clean this shit up." And you're like, by myself. That's kind of what you would have with Urban Meyer. He would come in, you would win immediately. You may even reach national prominence, meaning top 5 rankings, potentially a college football playoff victory, potentially some Big Ten titles in there over the course of a 3 to 5 year stretch. But without a doubt, what would follow is some sort of BS. He was in Jacksonville for a cup of coffee and ruined that program. Not to mention Florida, not to mention Ohio State. He was in Jacksonville for no less than 8 months and was ran out of town. Not one time, not for one thing, not for two things, but for more than 3 different situations that they were just like, get out of here. So, as far as the We Want Urbans, I'm sure they do. Yeah. I'm sure they're sick and tired of being trash. There were Michigan fans just a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. I think it was after the 2020 season. They wanted Harbaugh fired. And I bet you if you asked a normal Michigan fan, you have a 50-50 chance of saying they would have taken Urban because they were so sick and tired of losing. So I get it. But you don't want him. What's your opinion?
I want a dynasty. I want something built for right now and then in the long term. I don't want that. And I would be bitter if I tasted success as a fan and then all of a sudden left in the wake. I'm left in the dust. And as a Nebraska fan, someone with stability and someone that I know that can be here long term. Bo Pelini was there. Bo Pelini was like the Lloyd Carr of Nebraska. 9 wins, 10 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins. Consistency. They were tired of consistency. They were tired of his antics. He was not saying this part has nothing to do with Lloyd Carr comparison, but Bo Pelini was like blowing up on reporters, blowing up on coaching staff, blowing up on players. Dude was a short fuse. So they fire him. And they bring in, I don't even remember the last guy they brought in there. Was it Scott Frost? No, it was somebody else. They just can't win, and they can't win consistently. So after Taylor Martinez, which I think Bo Pelini recruited, they haven't been anything. So no, I don't want Urban Meyer. I don't want Urban Meyer in the NFL. I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and give him the respect as a phenomenal coach if he would have actually done something with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hence, he didn't. He's a scumbag, and I might have mentioned it last week. He must have blackmail text messages or has a Fox staffer's family member held hostage in his basement. How he even got a job at Fox Sports is beyond me. I mean, all that he's gone through. I know he's got great analysis. He's got the prestige, right? But I don't know, dude. The dude's just a worm, and him on TV again, it's just odd. And it was even odd. I'll end with this. It was even odd when he first started doing broadcasting, or it was right before he went to Ohio State. He was literally with Brady Hoke in the offseason, spring ball, whatever. The dude's walking around their facilities, whatever, with the Big Ten Network. It's like, get the hell out of here, dude. What the hell are you doing here? And then, lo and behold, after he gets to sniff around, he's wearing scarlet and gray. So, I mean, it is what it is. But that's all I got on Urban Meyer.
Yeah, that whole I guess you could call it a Big Ten road trip that he went on when he was touring facilities all around the country. And that's a whole other topic for another day, but that was obviously a crock of shit too. Yeah.
Yeah. But another thing I want to talk to you about is Spencer Rattler obviously was at Oklahoma, and he transfers out to South Carolina, and they absolutely get shellacked. And just two different quarterbacks, both transferring from the original program out. And Spencer Rattler being the one that looked absolutely terrible. And then we have another one in Penix Jr., who transferred from Indiana to Washington, who upset Michigan State. Well, yeah, upset Michigan State this past weekend, threw for almost 400 yards. So,
due for over 400.
Yeah, so I want to get your take. Like, is it time to hit the panic button if you're a Spartan fan?
I'm gonna talk first about Spencer Rattler. I believe he was a 5-star kid. I believe he may have been the number one dual threat quarterback out of high school, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
He was definitely super highly rated. Yeah, that's just kind of gone downhill. I think that ultimately, if he would have gotten long-term coaching out of
Lincoln Riley.
Thank you, Lincoln Riley. I think maybe he could have potentially been something. I think they were looking for Kyler Murray with him, and he ain't Kyler Murray. That's very clear. And he's at a program like South Carolina that's just really not built and doesn't have the needs to take him to the next level. As far as Penix Jr., I honestly thought he peaked in 2020. Wasn't that the year they were good?
Yes.
Or was that 19? 2020. They were really good, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought he peaked then because he was pretty bad last year. But he goes over to Washington, and he's been fantastic. He lit up Michigan State, and Washington was favored in the game, and I thought that was wild that they were favored. And it turned out Vegas always knows something, you know. They put it down on him.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I will say is everybody that has beaten Michigan State over the last year and a half, they've done it through the air.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan was beating them through the air, turned the all over and lost. Ohio State annihilated them through the air. Now, mind you, Ohio State has a lot of weapons, but they annihilated them through the air. I believe, didn't they lose on the road at Purdue last year right after beating Michigan? I think they lost through the air. So it's like everybody that's gotten over on Michigan State, it's gone through the air. They need work in the back end. They brought in $1.5 million transfers, and it doesn't look like they have somebody to stop that. And as of right now, Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, if they can go through the air on Michigan State, they'll probably win that game.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about
it? Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just asking your opinion because obviously you asked the question. What do you think about Michigan State right now?
I definitely think that the secondary is still a glaring weakness, and I hope that's an issue that they can never recover from to the end of time.
Yeah.
I think, Mel Tucker's, I think, is a good coach. I think he's a little bit overpaid. They definitely have an issue there they need to fix, and they need to fix in a hurry. Even on offense, I was still giving a lot of respect to them. I know they lost Jalen Naylor from last year, and they were without Jaden Reed, I believe, in this game. So that might have played a factor into Peyton Thorne and everything. But he just looked completely uncomfortable. Their offensive line was disintegrating. He took an absolute beating. But he's a warrior. I as much as I hate Michigan State, I give respect to their players and especially the quarterback play because it seems like whoever's under center is always a gamer, a grinder. And Peyton Thorne hung in there and did everything he could, but their defense is just it's not D'Antonio-ish. You know, D'Antonio had some really bad teams, but his defense always was pretty stout. But yeah, that's my. I wanted to get your take on that because I watched a lot of that game.
I did too.
To keep my eye on it, and I want to see how Penix Jr. was doing. I really liked what he did for the Hoosiers in 2020. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I was able to watch a lot of that too. Anything else you got?
Yeah, real quick, real brief. I thought Penn State snuck a really underrated game down there in Auburn this past weekend. They went on the road. Auburn wasn't ranked; they were undefeated, however. But Penn State went down there and got a sneaky good win. So that Penn State is obviously going to be a challenge in itself.
I put together, I believe it was like a 7 or 8 game parlay, and it kicked off with Penn State and Auburn, and I had Auburn covering.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I might have even did an alternate spread to make Auburn win by like 1.5 or 2 points or whatever. Yeah, Auburn got blown off the field. I was very impressed with Penn State. I thought Penn State looked great. And obviously that's a team that's coming to the big house this year. That's a big game. And, we haven't talked a ton of Ohio State, but that's a game where Ohio State has to go to Penn State. And I haven't seen anything necessarily out of Ohio State that I absolutely, quote unquote, love at this point. Man, watch out. Penn State might have the weapons to kind of light a fire,
Yeah, and it's Sean Clifford's last year. It'd be something that he's probably marking on his calendar of him trying to do one time before he dips out. Absolutely. But yeah, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to bring up for at least this past weekend.
You sent me something, and I can either read it or you can either read it. But I wanted to talk about it. You cool if I read it?
Yeah, absolutely.
On this date, September 21st, 2019. Okay, this is a Facebook post of yours. Year 5. Here's what's factual. No key road wins. Losing bowl record. Losing record versus rivals. No established quarterback. Hoax players performed better under tenor. No signs of foreseeable improvement. Chokes in all the big games. I'm not a coach or a player, not a former one, but it's time to demand more. If it makes me a fair weather fan to be negative, you can miss me with that shit. What's not deniable? These are college kids. I bring that up because it's the internet morons that's response is too critical. People pour their money and time and energy into a program, which in turn keeps them moving, essentially. Jim obviously can't get it done. A Heisman finalist at Michigan, a former NFL QB, can't get an offense going in year 5. Defense couldn't stop a flood against legitimate contenders. Haven't won a miss me with the don't root for us when we're done winning bullshit. I do want to say, so this is after a blowout loss to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
It got significantly worse before it got better. 2020 in my fandom is the worst Wolverine team I've ever seen. Like it was right there with 2008, which was obviously Rich Rod's first year, which was really bad, losses Toledo, stuff like that. Looking back on that, man, what do you think?
I'll say this: whether people agree with that post or me in general, I would say used to. I still treat Michigan football as realistic as possible. All my teams. I gotta say, man, this part there, whatever. I thought that it was unarguable. I don't think you could argue with that at all.
No.
But that game, yes, 35-14 against Wisconsin. It was at Wisconsin. Jonathan Taylor, I'm looking at right now, ran for 200 with 2 touchdowns. Shea Patterson throwing a pick, Joe Milton throwing a pick, and Jack Cohn, the Wisconsin quarterback, barely throws for 120 yards. And, we just get absolutely creamed. So that was 2019 was definitely a frustrating year. And that's post 2018. And 2018, that was the year where I told myself I wasn't ever going to really buy into this bull crap anymore. And I started to. And after the revenge tour failed, I didn't buy. I was like 90% bought in, and once that game happened in November, man, that really turned my heart black, bro. And when I saw this game, I even was in my driveway, in my truck, just sitting there, and I was so fired up that I almost made a vlog to post it instead of texting that all out. But yeah, definitely got me hot. 2020 was obviously a year to forget, but yes, it made last year so much sweeter. That's why we're weeping tears of joy after the Ohio State game, and that's why I'm fighting tears literally from the moment I walked into Lucas Oil Stadium to the time I walked out. So, yeah, it made it taste a lot sweeter, but that the grind was terrible for sure, 100%.
Yeah, there were very few bright spots from the time that Harbaugh walked in here till the time that Hassan scored his 5th touchdown. I mean, prior to that 5th touchdown punched in, Michigan had a lot of downs, man, a lot of downs. And I mean, I see this post, and when you sent this to me, I read the entire thing, and your follow-up text was this 19 blowout loss to Wisconsin. My response, we back. Because truly, like right now, that post seems forever ago.
It does, yeah.
And I've talked to a couple people about this. COVID was such a shitty time in America. Two things in my personal life that got far and away better out of COVID. My relationship with my family, because I was able to be home more, have just stronger relationships and bonds with my kids. And second thing, there is no sport team, franchise, however you want to look at it, there is not another team on this planet that benefited from the 2020 season more than the Michigan Wolverine football team. They ended that season forfeiting the rest of their games and being mocked around the country. And since then, they've kicked the dog shit out of just about everybody they've played outside of a few short teams. Man, they've been rock solid, man, and they're off to a hot start this year. And I just I don't want to get ahead of myself. I have thing just seems so light years past, and I do believe we're past that, and that's why I text way back, because I think this is a team that's in the national limelight prominence role for years to come.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And again, Michigan fans, man, we've endured so much. Obviously, the players, coaches do first, but 20 and 11, you beat Ohio State that year, so then we're bought in, right? 2012, false fight on space. Or Robinson gets hurt at quarterback. Devin Gardner has to step in. Should have beat Ohio State that year. Then we bring Devin Gardner back, bring Al Borges. We got offensive coordinator. We got senior leadership. 2013, a lot of highs and lows. Almost beat Ohio State. Extra point.
They were
tying it.
They were three touchdown dogs in that game,
yep.
and they lost at the two.
Right. And then you get to Devin Gardner's final year in 2014. That year was a complete catastrophe. Then you had the Shane Morris incident. Program is absolutely in shambles. Then we bring in our Jesus, our Messiah, Jim Harbaugh, comes home in 2015, tries to resurrect the program. We become competitive again. And then 2015, 2016, 2017, we're a quarterback away from beating Ohio State. I really, truly, realistically, Ohio State fans can deny that all they want. 15, we played you guys without Jake Rudock. 2016, Wilton Spate. I mean, that game was robbed. I don't care what it says. 2017, we played you against John O'Corn and literally lost that within the final 2 minutes. And then we get into 2018. That was another game where whole other conversation. But Michigan came so close, and I don't want to use that next year is our year type deal, but right when they had you buying in, they found a way to shoot themselves in the foot and hurt your soul. And that's where that 2019 post really came from the bottom here, man. 100.
Do you remember what Michigan finished in 2019? Like what the record was?
I do not.
They were third in the Big Ten East. They were 9-4. Okay. So not a 10-win season under Harbaugh, but he's had lots of them.
Yeah.
Really, his only 2 bad years were the 2017 year with John O'Corn. We call it the John O'Corn year. I believe he started 3 or 4 different quarterbacks that year. It was not just John O'Corn, but John O'Corn was the majority starter. And then obviously the COVID year. People also forget, and I heard this point the other day, and it was not brought up, but teams that typically are on Hard Knocks in the NFL don't actually perform well because there's just so much that goes into it and things like that. And obviously there's scouting, and you almost have too many distractions around you.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget Michigan actually recorded a very similar thing. It's an Amazon series that season, and I think that maybe got to be too much for them. Maybe it got in their heads that, they were on this program or whatever. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up today because when you sent me that, obviously reading that brought back some feelers, but at the same time, it's like I can't even relate to that because Michigan right now seems like they're just thankfully light years ahead of that. So.
Oh, yep, absolutely.
Anything else?
No, I just 4 games I'm keeping an eye out for, but I'll just say one.
Yeah,
really
hit me. Yeah.
Okay. So there's 4 games I'm looking at real quick.
Okay.
Tennessee, Florida, Arkansas, Texas A&M.
College game days at Tennessee, Florida.
Arkansas, Texas A&M, Wisconsin, Ohio State.
Yep.
And then Minnesota, Michigan State. I think that game is absolutely huge. I think we'll find out if Minnesota's for real and if Michigan State can stop Hamid Ibrahim, which is probably one of the best backs in the country, or at least one of my underrated backs.
Cool. Yeah, I think those are all big-time games. Obviously, Tennessee, quote-unquote, back in the national limelight. They're going to have game day for the first time, I believe, since 2016, I read, which is big time for them. Yeah, I think Michigan State's going to take care of Minnesota, but obviously we'll see. And then I just don't know that Wisconsin has too much to compete with Ohio State, but never know. Ohio State's doing the all blackout shit. I'm not a huge fan of that, but teach their own. Anything else, sir?
No, buddy, I'm good to go, man, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of your week there, or at least the rest of this work week in Baton Rouge, and can't wait to come back next Wednesday and chit chat.
Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to watch the game this weekend, so I'm gonna either have to watch it on replay or highlights, which kind of sucks. We'll be working on Saturday, but outside of that, for a while, and Michigan's good. I'm excited about this weekend's game, just to see how they respond to a Big Ten opponent, and we'll be back next week to talk some more ball. So, with that being said, go blue.
Go blue, buddy.
We're out. Real talk.